First of all, okay, Shannon Best in the studio this morning. Now, Shannon, spent a bit of time in the Obi Valley. What were you doing out there?
I was over there and I was working on an orchid farm. I was helping my friend Christopher Dean set up a orchid farming business over there.
And how did you go from working on an orchid farm as a young bloke, young Indigenous Australian in the Obi Valley, how did you go from doing that to becoming, a top flight kiteboarder?
Well, I suppose that's it's a long story, but it could be a short story. But there's a cable park at Blybly, so the Obi Valley where it was, I duck over to Blybly all the time and train over there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you're into wakeboarding. You won the first competition there at Blybly, and then the judges said, "Son, go overseas, go and make some money."
Yes, and I took their advice.
All right. So where'd you move to?
Moved to South Florida, and I moved to a place called Quiet Waters. And Quiet Waters is one of the first and famous cable parks in the world. So it was originally built by the man who designed cable parks, and went over there and worked over there for a couple of months, and then got onto the pro tour of wakeboarding, and then that was it.
So did that for about 5 years or so. But then how did the actual kiteboarding come to be?
Towards the end of my wakeboarding career, I was courted by one of the owners of one of the kiteboarding companies who wanted me to come on and teach their team and learn how to kiteboard and sort of integrate wakeboarding with kiteboarding. This guy was very visionary and could see that kiteboarding needed like a heavy wakeboarding influence, which basically kiteboarding is wakeboarding. We just happen to use a kite instead of a boat or a cable. So this gentleman approached me and said, "Hey, come on board," and I did, and just fell in love with kiteboarding instantly. So,
did you ever imagine that you get to where you are now? Now, Best Kiteboarding has taken off. You've got a very extensive website.
Yes.
You're making kiteboards, all the accessories to go with it.
Yeah, we make everything you need to kiteboard. Anything you need plus some.
Now, it's just quite amazing that the success of this for you. Are you surprised by the success?
Yes and no. When I got into kiteboarding, I'd had about 10 years of inside information on the industry and how the industry works. So for the transition, I have about a staff of 35 throughout the world. We have a Harvard MBA graduate running the show at the moment for us over in the States, doing an extremely great job, and we have a huge sales team that just kick ass. So
I reckon you must be one of the most successful Indigenous business people in this country, and you're probably only known by a handful of people.
I wouldn't go to saying that, but it's unfortunately the sports that I picked were sort of niche sports. Wakeboarding. I was a pioneer with that, and then now there's several million people wakeboard, and then with kiteboarding there's only several hundred thousand people in the world that kiteboard. So I sort of have a habit of not picking the golfs and the tennis.
Well, that's all right, because as long as that niche market's there, you only need 1% of the American market, and you're laughing all the way to the
Exactly,
back. So, of the future for you, will you stay based in America, or do you think you might come back to Australia, because kiteboarding is starting to take off here?
Kiteboarding, Australia has just got huge potential for kiteboarding. We have literally thousands and thousands of miles of coastline that haven't even been kiteboarded yet. So I'm starting to make a slow transition now. Over the next several years, I'll just set up main base over here in Australia.
But as an Indigenous Australian, are you recognised as an Indigenous Aussie when you're in the States or not? Where do they think you come from?
No, people that know me know my background and all that. So my mum's heavily involved in on the Indigenous side. So and then all of our kites' names are all actually Indigenous Aboriginal names. So that's sort of when people ask where our kites come from, we go, well, that's all where the names come from, because that's sort of a really important marketing thing.
Such as
we have the Yaga. And we have the Waru, and what else we have? We have the Bullaroo.
So what do they mean?
They're all Aboriginal names for wind and water and
classic.
Yeah,
classic. So the future looks pretty good for Shannon Best, I'd say, at this stage.
Try, mate. Try. Yeah. Can't predict anything.
Do you miss Australia?
I miss Australia so much. Yep. So unfortunately, I'm only back here for about 4 months this time, and I should be back here again soon.
So the rigours of your job, it takes you all over the world, I believe.
Yes, I spend about 30 days out of the year in my own house, and that's it.
Some people would say that's really sad.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah.
So where are you taking kiteboarding to? You're going to some fairly unusual locations?
Well, with kiteboarding, you need a beach. Well, you don't really need a beach, but it sort of involves, sand and water and wind, and so I sort of get to travel to all the most, beautiful beaches in the world and hang out with cool people, in kiteboards. So I just was in Brazil, and then quickly went back to Florida, then flew over to Japan, and we travelled the whole coast of Japan. And then flew over to here. So, and then I touched down back in the States next month, and then I'm straight off to South Africa.
Yeah. What do you prefer, flat water kiteboarding, where you can do the tricks like you would have picked up at the wakeboarding park at Bli Bli, or do you prefer getting out in the waves and the ocean?
I prefer everything, mate. Yep.
The whole damn lot.
Yes, I try and sort of be an all-round kiteboarder and not sort of specify on one aspect. So I really try and take facets of each discipline in the sport and combine them all. So I like the speed, I like racing, I like the waves, and also doing the flat water tricks. So I try not to specialise.
So you are still competing professionally, or are you just overseeing your team riders now?
I don't plan to compete, but I normally show up and I'll sign up for a competition, and then I normally flog most of my team riders. So then for the next couple of days I harass them about that, so I sort of question what their job is.
All right.
So, yeah.
Now, Shannon, you've got a very interesting tattoo on your arm. There's quite a number of words there. Can you tell us what it is?
It is Newton's 3 laws of physics.
Now, they are?
An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Object at rest tends to stay in rest unless acted upon by an outside force. And then acceleration equals mass over force, and then every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
And the reason you put it there?
They're the only 3 laws you can't break.
Shannon, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in whilst here on the coast, and I think we'll see you back here again, because as I say, it seems to be growing in popularity. You just got to get down to any of the beaches now when there's a bit of a breeze in the Arvo. There's kiteboarders out there everywhere.
Yep. Very popular on the Marucci River and Noosa River as well too. Yeah.
Good on you, Shannon. Thanks for coming in.
Anytime, mate.